Good pacer. And as usual, we're going to carry on with our Tuesday lessons. If you're new to the YouTube channel, please feel free to peruse all our videos. You'll find semester 1, 2, and 3. That will give you a nice basis on the wisdom of Kabbalah. And if you feel like you'd like to carry on studying, you can always go to Kabbalah.info and join the KABU Academy and study with like-minded people from all over the world. In the interim, we're going to carry on as usual with selected excerpts from authentic articles of Rabash and Baal Sulam. So we left off at item number 4, and the main topic for these excerpts is subjugating the heart. All right, so from the selected excerpts, we are moving on with item number 4. This is from Rabash's article. All the darkness that we feel in spirituality extends from the evil within us, which is to receive in order to receive. Our sages said about this, I've created the evil inclination, I've created the Torah as a spice, meaning that through the Torah we obtain the power to subdue the receiver in us so he can work in order to bestow. In other words, all we want to receive from the Torah and mitzvot is the power to subdue the evil. This is the only reward that we hope to receive from Torah and mitzvot, since once we obtain the power to bestow, we will be able to obtain all the delight and pleasure that the Creator has prepared for us. All right, as in tradition, we'll go over it a second time, and step by step, we'll go over the sentences and see what we can get out of them. In the interim, also, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them through, and we'll try to answer them as best we can together. Okay, so let's read again. All the darkness that we feel in spirituality extends from the evil within us, which is to receive in order to receive. So as we know, our egoistic nature is the cause of all grief, not just in spirituality, mind you, but it's also in our corporeal life. If you think about it, all the problems that we go through, all the challenges and the darkness that we go through in life is also an outcome of our exaggerated will to receive for ourselves. And that's obviously a problem. And this is why we're going through personal conflicts, family conflicts, cultural, global, national, all kinds of conflicts and dramas that we're going through in life is simply because we don't know how to handle our nature. Our sages said about this, I've created the evil inclination and I've created the Torah as spice. Okay, so the Kabbalists are saying, well, there's no reason to cry about it simply because we're created this way. The Creator created us in this nature. So crying over it is not going to really help us out. What we have to do is to understand and come to a conclusion of what our nature is, how it works, and why it's causing us all kinds of problems. Okay. Once we come to an understanding, then we can learn to deal with it. And that's called the Torah being a spice. Now, Torah, for us, Torah means teaching and light. So if we study the wisdom of Kabbalah, we should get enlightened, right? So over a period of time, we should come to an understanding, some kind of an enlightenment that allows us to see how cause and consequence in life is felt, experienced within us. And accordingly, we can make adjustments to life, which is called a correction. Meaning that through the Torah, we obtain the power to subdue the receiver in us so he can work in order to bestow. So by studying spirituality, and obviously applying it, just reading won't help us out here. What we have to do is study, learn, and apply what we've learned inside a group. So we can actually practically, because the wisdom of Kabbalah is a practical science where we apply what we've learned. And according to the application, we go through sensations and feelings inside of us that we need to clarify and obviously learn how to, from that clarification, learn how to build the next step forward. In other words, all we want to receive from the Torah and mitzvot. Now, Torah and mitzvot, Torah is, like I said, the study where we can get some enlightenment, so we can get some light. And mitzvot are the commandments of the Creator, comes from the word sivui, means an order. the Creator's order. But when we're talking about mitzvot, really what we're talking about is our correction. So if we correct an egoistic nature and bring it into bestowal, then what's really happening is we're actually making a mitzvah, right? A good deed, basically, a correction. So all we want to receive from the Torah and mitzvot is the power to subdue the evil. So he's hinting us here, he's hinting us that there's no way I can really subdue my will to receive for myself. And because I don't really have the power to subdue my will to receive, I need this study, I need this application, I need this work to find some kind of strength, ability, so that I can actually subdue the evil. So from the study, I need to learn how to deal with my evil nature. And when we're talking about evil nature, we're talking about our will to receive for itself, our egoistic nature. Because being an egoist means I feel like I'm on top of everybody else. I'm always putting myself first and everybody else later. So if all of us are acting selfishly, right? So if we're all selfish and thinking just of ourselves first, then that, obviously this is going to cause a problem, right? And this is why the whole world is in a big mess, because we're always thinking about ourselves first. And if I think about myself first, it means I do not consider the well-being of other people. That lack of consideration is a problem. This is the only reward we hope to receive from Torah and mitzvot. So our spiritual study should really give us this ability to subdue our egoistic nature so that we can really control it, so we can really get the reins and hold them tight and manage our will to receive. Since once we obtain the power to bestow, we will be able to obtain all the delight and pleasure that the Creator has prepared for us. So once we're actually in a state of love of others instead of love of ourselves, then we can actually come to some kind of an agreement with the Creator. It's like this mutuality that we see things in a common way with the Creator. And when our attributes match the Creator, then obviously we're free from our egoistic nature, and that allows us really to feel life in a deeper way, because you actually feel like you're free from this nature that constantly is whipping you to run around after all kinds of silly, childish things. And this will give us the ability to actually obtain, get everything we need, we want, that the Creator wants to give us. This is an important aspect, because the purpose of creation is actually for us to receive everything. But we cannot receive things from the Creator like a dog that's been thrown a bone. All right? Otherwise, we'll end up being a biscuit dog. And that is not what the Creator wants. Okay? So we need to be at a level where we see the Creator eye to eye. All right? And that makes us independent. That actually makes us the created being. So there's the Creator and the created being, and they're independent at that state. When I say independent, they both have their own nature. So the Creator is the Creator, we're the created being, okay? But our mutuality is in our relationship. It's in how we relate to each other. All right, and that's called love and bestow. So the Creator loves us and He wants to bestow to us. If we attain the attribute of love and bestowal as well, what we'd like to do is we'd like to relate to the Creator in the same way. And that brings us to equivalence of form. And that allows us to actually perceive a whole lot more, a much greater reality than this narrow, dark world that we're stuck in right now. All right, that's all clear. Okay, if there are any questions, you guys shoot them through. Okay, you know where to shoot them through. Okay, there you go. Who's going to give me the questions when they come? Good, okay, so shoot them through WhatsApp, because the other thing isn't working here. Facebook's not working here. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to excerpt number 5. This is from Rabash, letter number 13. All the work we have is only to turn the reception to be in order to bestow. This is against our nature and desire. However, we were given the remedy of Torah and mitzvot, by which we obtain the power and the might to subdue our bodies, so that all of our intentions will be for the Creator. This is the meaning of engaging in Torah through delight in it, as well as to engage in good deeds, which is the meaning of loving others. By those two, we can exit reception and be rewarded with bestowal. All right, so let's read again. All the work we have is only to turn the reception to be in order to bestow. So this is the only thing we were created for. All right, so we were not created to go to the moon. We were not created to go do all kinds of crazy stuff like bungee jumping from cliffs and ending up dead, as I read in the news the other day. Okay, it's really not the purpose of life to muck around with our lives. If you're looking for excitement, look at the excitement of changing your nature, okay, and perceiving a whole new reality. So the whole idea of creation is for us to come to a higher level, just like the Creator, which is to attain this attribute of bestowal. This is against our nature and desire. All right, so this is why we've got a bit of a drama here. And that drama is our current nature, which is reception, being in conflict with what we want to attain, which is love and bestowal. So going against my natural desires are creating conflicts. Okay, so going against my desire is going to create some inner conflict in me, and that's a problem. All right, going against our desire. However, we were given the remedy of Torah and mitzvot. So by studying spirituality, by bringing understanding to what I'm going through, what I want to attain, why I want to make a change, by learning all these things and by understanding how life is going with our current nature, we can then come to a conclusion. Okay, and that conclusion is the desire to want to change. Because normally we don't want to change. We want the world to change. This is why you have a lot of people trying to change the world. Very, very childish and silly things to do. Because you can't change the world. Okay, unfortunately, the world is full of childish grown-ups who want to change the world. And they think they can. Unfortunately, you can't. Because you can't change human nature. And because you can't change human nature, things obviously have to go from bad to worse if we're not working on it. So the Kabbalists are saying if we keep pushing in this direction and live the way we're living right now, the world can only get worse. Right? In order to make it better, a change in human nature is required. So this is why the world wants to change the world, right? But Kabbalists are saying wrong. What we need to do is change man. All right, and that's the whole idea of studying the wisdom of Kabbalah. So every time we go through a change for the better, it's called mitzvot, by which we obtain the power and might to subdue our bodies. The body means the desire to receive for myself, so that all of our intentions will be for the Creator. What does that really mean? Well, it means that everything I do must be disconnected from self-benefit. If I'm working for self-benefit, that's my egoistic nature working. But spirituality means for the benefit of everybody else and not my benefit. All right, this is why it's a bit of a drama working against your body, against your desire to receive. This is the meaning of engaging in Torah through delight in it, as well as to engage in good deeds. All right, so this is what happens. What we want to do is make sure we engage in good relationships among ourselves so that we can do something in order to change ourselves. Because normally, any person living is always going out and wanting to do things for self-benefit. So when we're studying together, what we have to do is the opposite, right? While working inside the group, within the group, I always need to enter the group in order to do good to others, which is the meaning of loving others. Why? Because the act of love is giving. And that's why we have to bestow to each other all the time, because we want to get used to this action, right? The reason we're doing it, and it's obviously against our nature, which is why it's saying it's a bit tough to do. But the reason we're doing it is the more we do it, the more you get used to it. Okay. And that also builds an understanding, because every time you do it, you have to think about, well, why am I doing it? Why do I need to do this? What am I trying to attain? What's the intention? I have to do it with an intent. And intent really means what I'm trying to get out of this action. Now, normally, a lot of people, they live their lives day to day, and they don't really think about the intention. Why? Because our natural nature is an intention to receive for myself. So it's like clear cut to everybody, right? I'm doing things for personal benefit. But when it comes to bestow, it's a whole different ball game, and we've got to make sure that we're going with different rules, all right? Because it's a different ball game. So now, what we have to do constantly is, well, try to do constantly, is to first think why I need to benefit others, right? What am I trying to achieve? What am I trying to get? What am I trying to obtain with all these things that I'm doing against my nature or trying to do against my nature? This also allows us to measure and see how capable of I am doing something against my nature and where I'm not capable. Some things I might be able to do, and some things I might say, well, I just can't do it. Okay, so this allows us to really clarify, really operate on ourselves. We're really doing an operation on our character, really, right? So this is going to be a really dissecting of all our traits, and we're going to get all these thoughts, different desires. And these desires, sometimes they just consume your mind all the time. And it's really difficult to kind of get out and think about other people. So the more you try to think about other people, our natural nature, thinking, our egoism, our desire to receive for ourselves, kind of like keeps pulling us back in. And then this becomes like this tug of war, right? So we're constantly in this struggle of trying to do something against my nature and not being able to do it, failing again and again and again. But this is really a good thing, because it allows us to see, how can I say it? It allows me to see the depth and the intricacies of all of the desires that I have and how they work. Because before we started studying the wisdom of Kabbalah, and before we started to do all these actions and acts of bestowal, we really never gave it a thought, did we? We were just like living our lives. We wanted to get the best out of everything, really squeeze the lemon to the last drop and get whatever we can from life. And that's how it used to pan out. So it was like obvious to us what we wanted, why we wanted it, and why we were doing things. It was just naturally coming to us. But now, when I'm trying to do something for the benefit of others without any expectation of profit or self-gain, then now I have to look at things from two different perspectives. One from my nature that's trying to stall and stop me all the time, and the other one is the nature I'm trying to attain. And this is why the conflict between these two opposite forces is giving me all the spices that you get in the food that give the food taste. Okay, so that's the spice in the work. By those two, we can exit reception and be rewarded with bestowal. So the more I work, the more I try, the more I can evaluate, see, I can become more mature about how I relate to life. And this maturity is really good because it raises me above all the childish desires and silly things that I was going after before. So you'll find that when you study the wisdom of Kabbalah, and if you're consistently, studying it, you'll find that you're really going above a lot of the desires that you were engaging in before. Kind of because you're kind of like raising yourself. It's like kids growing up. They're no longer playing with their Barbie dolls or cars or whatever. They've kind of like started looking at life. As we grow up, we're looking at life from a different perspective. So as we study the wisdom of Kabbalah, we're really raising ourselves and bringing to our, bringing to the scope, to this vision, what I can see as a whole different picture of what was before. So our now desire to attain something higher than our corporeal desires allows us to look at life from a different pair of spectacles, let's say. Okay. Rightio. Ingrid's asking, so we've got a question. Ingrid's asking, she's got two questions. How can one achieve the bestowing force? Should one feel that one is bestowing? What is bestow? How can one achieve the bestowing force? Well, like Rabash writes to us here, we can attain the bestowal force by studying the wisdom of Kabbalah and by applying it. And as we apply it, we should build a desire to want to change from seeing that I cannot overcome my desire to receive for myself. As we cannot change our own nature, the study allows us to see what we really are. Okay, this is why when we're working against our desire to receive for ourselves, we begin to discover the truth. And the truth is that we're only and only a desire to receive pleasure for ourselves. And by seeing that, I also see how much of a problem that is, because all our problems are because we're a desire to receive for ourselves. Okay, all our problems are because we're egoists. And working against egoism allows me to see the depth of my egoism, and that this nature of ours is not going to let me go. Kind of like the things that we're studying right now at Pesach, right? The Pharaoh doesn't want to let them go. And the Pharaoh is our egoism. It just doesn't want to let us go. So there's only one way. I have to come to a state with the study that I really, really hate the nature I'm in, because I see how much harm it's bringing to me. And this is what we need to see as being truth. Because I need to see how harmful my nature is to me. All right. So by seeing that, I can want to get out of egoism. And if I want to get out of egoism, then if it's a sincere desire, then I can get some help from the Creator. Now, why do I need the help of the Creator? Because if we didn't get the help of the Creator, we would not build a connection with the Creator. Right? Just like our kids would never be connected with us if they could do everything by themselves. All right? What kind of a connection would we have if they were born and immediately they started walking, doing things? They would just go out and live their own lives and would never get connected, would never have a connection with the children, right? So they need us, and that need creates a connection both ways. That connection is the connection of love, because we love our children, right? Well, exceptions put aside. All right, but we love our children. So this connection of wanting, giving to them, they need stuff, we give it to them, and so on, it builds more and more love. We feel in that relationship that we're investing in love. I mean, in corporeality, we don't really feel like we're investing in love, because naturally we feel a love towards our children. But in reality, in reality, you're actually strengthening your love in that connection. So on the one hand, they need you, and on the other hand, you need them. And that's mutual love, just like between the creator and us. So we need to come to this state where we feel like we need the creator's help. And that creates this connection with the creator, that he and we are in this relationship of taking care of each other. He's looking after us, he's raising us, right? And we, by doing so, by trying to grow up, wanting to grow up, are actually giving him pleasure as well. So we're actually bestowing too. Just like kids give a lot of pleasure to their parents. What is bestowal? Well, how can I explain to you a feeling you've never felt? But let's just think about it for a moment. If we contemplate about it, at least we'll have some kind of an impression as to how we should behave. If I have friends, like in my 10 or in the group, and I want to do things which are only for their benefit, just think of it that way. For the moment, anyway. Ingrid's asking, again, she has a second question. Do we have first action and then the right intention, how to set first intention without failure? First of all, we're going to fail. Okay, so understanding we're going to fail is like, let's just understand we're going to fail. Why? Because everybody fails. You can't just become something great without failing. Okay, every great person in human history has gone through the biggest failures until they've become something or someone. It's not easy. So failing is not a problem. What we should always do first is to prepare ourselves before the action. Right? So before I do something, I should sit down and contemplate and consider why I'm doing the things I'm going to do. And that I should clarify every day, actually. What do I want from my life? What do I want from the study? What do I want from my spirituality? Why am I doing the things I'm doing? This actually raises us to a more mature level. Yeah, because only kids run around, without really looking at the end result of what they're doing. Why? Because they're small. And if you look at humanity, there are about 8 billion people, let's say. How many of them are really planning ahead, looking ahead, and doing things with intention for a certain target and goal? Really? Not many. Not many. This is why you do not get a lot of great people in society. You don't. There are always a handful of people who lift society culturally, technologically, philosophically, all kinds of things. They're only a handful. Why? Because they have this special attribute of being directed towards something. And all their focus is on that. And we need to also bring all our focus and direct it into one line. Because during the day, we have a bunch of desires, don't we? We're running around all the time trying to get stuff done. So we need to kind of like prioritize what our life is about and what we want it to be about. And that can only happen if I sit and think about it, or if I talk with the friends in the 10, so I can raise its importance. So we can clarify for each other as well in the 10 what we're doing, what we want to do, what we want to attain, and why this is so important for us. All right, if we don't talk about these things with the friends, it's not going to really, it's not really going to, I don't know, it's not really going to harness or kind of strengthen your path. Yeah. So that's like really important to do with the friends. Okay. So first the intention and then the action. Intention always comes first, but don't be afraid of failing. Failures are not bad, but just remember to learn from them. Isoke is asking, how do we maintain a good pace in the 10 with attacking the will to receive for ourselves? Well, a good pace is a day-to-day routine. Okay, so for example, if I want to be a good athlete, right, let's say I want to run a marathon. So I'm going to go out and run every day. I can't just run once a week if I'm preparing for a marathon. Okay, so I got to go out, run every day, right? I got to kind of like prepare for this thing. Well, same with our study. If I want to attain a higher level of perception, I need to start running every day, which means start working. I need to have a daily routine. I need to have some kind of a framework where I can constantly stick my head, my thoughts, intentions into that thing where I can extract, withdraw from it some kind of a impression, understanding, feeling, clarification, anything that'll kind of like feed me and give me some energy along the way. So if I don't have a daily routine, it's a problem. All right. So I should really set something up for myself. How do we not cool down and really push full force towards attaining bestowal with the right intention? Well, there will be cool downs. There will be, because it's, well, look, you can't you can't go full steam forever. All right, there's got to be, there are ups and downs on the path. Okay, so you go up and down, up and down, up and down. So what we have to understand is there's going to come a time when I'm going to feel heaviness, where I'm going to fall, where I'm going to just kind of feel like I'm out of breath, and so on. These things happen along the path. It's called the heaviness of the heart, where you feel like you don't have any desire, you want to run away. God knows it happens to me a lot as well. It always will happen. You'll want to, you'll want to kind of like free yourself from the work. But we have to understand the way to overcome these things is to really, in our initial foundation of the study, understand what the study is about. And the anticipation, the expectation that I am going to have bad days. In life, we understand we get bad days. In spirituality, we need to understand we're going to have a bad day. Okay. But you understand this is part of life when you have a bad day in life. You need to understand that this is part of spirituality. We're going to have ups and downs. And there are a lot of downs. But the important thing here, what we should really focus on, is how to kind of like maintain a framework so no matter what I feel, I still keep moving forward. Kind of like going to work, right? Suppose you have to open up your shop, okay? And sometimes you don't want to open up the shop, you don't want to go, you don't want to work, but you have to because it's your shop and you got to open it up. Right? So despite the fact that sometimes, a lot of times, we may not want to do something, inside we feel obligated to do something. And spirituality for us, the way we focus on the importance, the framework, and trying to maintain that framework all the time, like just like going to work, right? That allows us to kind of like trot along. All right. So you'll just pull your legs and keep pushing and pushing and pushing forward. And that you can do with the force you get from the friends, because sometimes you'll have a down day, they'll have an up day. And the guys who are having an up day need to kind of pick up the guys who are having a down day. And it's like really waves, right? So a part of the group is going up, and then a part of the group is going down. So it's like a wave, right? Some of us are going up, some of us are going down, some of us are going up, some of us are going down. And the guys who are going up need to pull up the others who are having a down day. And when the others are having a down day and the others are having an up day, they need to pull them up. So the group kind of like needs to work like a heart. Like it's always pumping in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. And that mutuality in the group is what gives us the ability to keep pushing forward, because we increase the importance by helping each other. The more we help each other, we also connect more as well. We feel like there's an inner connection between us. Somehow we feel like we're like close, and you feel like you can't let your friends down. Okay. So the more I'm investing in the group, I'm actually investing like parents invest in their children, right? So the more we invest in them, they become more important for us. They become more dear to us. Same with the friends. The more you're investing in them, you understand that this is for your benefit, because you're giving more, you're building a better connection towards them, and this benefits you because it keeps you on the track. So by bestowing to the group, you're actually getting force. So it's like, it's the opposite of our common sense. All right. It's the opposite of our common sense. So we have to start thinking differently. When studying spirituality, by giving to the group, helping them, giving them a good feeling, lifting the spirits of the group, all kinds of things I do to kind of like give the group the push it needs. It actually gives me the force. Why? Because I'm bestowing. And when I'm bestowing to the group, I'm actually getting forces from the creator, because bestowal is the force of the creator. So by bestowing, you're tapping into this zone. You're tapping into this network where you're actually getting power. And I can really attest to this after all these years, that whenever I'm feeling down, the best thing I can do is to help the guys, because immediately you'll get this boost. Immediately. It's just like, okay, the minute you think about helping others, doing something for others, it immediately elevates you. And I know it's a little awkward because it's kind of like against our common sense, right? But that's just how it is. All right. And we need to learn how to go against our common sense so we can build something on top of it. Nice questions, though. These are practical stuff. Okay. And attaining bestowal with the right intention. Well, that right intention is what the creator is going to give to us. All right. Just like when we want something and can't get it by ourselves, we ask mommy, say, Mom, can you give me this? Can you give me that? Because you can't do it, but she can. Same thing with the creator. There's certain things as we try to do, we understand that there's this thing I cannot do. And that you have to get from the creator. And this is how we're building that relationship. All right. So I hope that's clarified things a little bit. I like your questions. They're to the point and they're really practical as to what we should do in the group. All right. So I do believe it's 8:44. Let's call it a night. And we'll see you guys next week. In the interim, though, if you've got the opportunity, or if you're studying with us, if you're in the 10, make sure you follow the Pesach lessons. They're really, really interesting. We had a wonderful lesson this afternoon. It was a really good lesson in the morning as well. This week of Pesach is especially very, very rich, because it allows us to really understand the inner work that we need to do. All right, so Pesach, Sukkot, they're like special periods where we can really focus on these discernments that we're going through internally. And this really gives us a rich perspective, and it really enriches the inner work we need to do as well. It really increases the importance as well, and it really gives us a push so we can use this week, the period, to kind of like elevate ourselves at least a few levels, I think. All right, just make sure stay connected all the time. And in the interim, we'll see you guys next week, God willing. All the best. Have a good one.